When a loved one or family member's health deteriorates to the point they must move in with you, everyone's life changes. You'll find yourself in many stressful and perplexing situations. Caregiving Tips A to Z, Alzheimer's and Other Dementias by Starr Calo-oy takes the family caregiver through every hands-on procedure necessary to care for your loved one at home. Every difficult situation the family caregiver faces is addressed, and numerous ideas to solve them easily are provided. This complete caregiving manual will help you and your family effectively communicate with all medical professionals to obtain maximum results for your loved one. Caregiving Tips A to Z, Alzheimer's and Other Dementias is colorfully illustrated and has been done in large print so it's easy to read. Providing complete care for a loved one is very noble. The proper caregiving tools will make your endeavor easier. Get your copy of the book today. Caregivers A to Z, Alzheimer's and Other Dementias by Starr Calo-oy. Available at caregiversadvice.net. caregiversadvice.net. That's caregiversadvice.net.
That you're a caregiver and your loved one is living with dementia and also exhibiting signs of anger. What do you do? Well, our caregiving expert, Starr Calo-oy, is here. Thank you, Starr, for being here this morning.
Okay.
Good to have you. Let's talk about the idea that dementia and anger, those two worlds can collide unexpectedly.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of times actually there's 3 different ways your loved one can go when having dementia. One can be, they may be nonverbal, or they may tend to be violent and angry, or they may just be very depressed. So we're going to talk this morning about as far as anger is concerned in the dementia victim. For example, one of the main things that we'll always want to remember, Bridget, is that we don't want to argue with them. You can't win an argument. Now, you're going to feel tempted to if you were abused as a child, because you feel, many times people feel, this is payback. Now I've got the upper hand, but that is abuse. And that is not the way you want to go.
And when you talk about someone who's living with dementia, there's always a situation where you don't know for sure what's causing the anger, or if it's dreamed up, or if it's an actuality.
If it's real, exactly.
Yeah, so what are some of the things that you can do?
Well, we have tips in our books, and one of the things that we tell everyone is, and don't laugh unless you've tried it, I tell everybody is go out of the room. If you get some resistance and anger or violence, you go out of the room, change your clothes. You might change a jacket, put on a hat or something, and walk back in and say, well, hello, how are you today?
Right.
And if you change up the situation, many times it'll change the way that they feel. Or you can take them into another room yourself. You can take them outside for a walk. If they're in a wheelchair, take them in their wheelchair. If they're bedbound and angry, then we just suggest that you leave the room.
Yes.
And you don't argue with them, don't fight, and go to the freezer and get them a bowl of ice cream. Because ice cream makes the world go round.
Yes, it does in all cases. And I guess what I'm hearing you say, Starr, is that it is smart as the caregiver to sort of manage the care as opposed to allowing the care to manage you.
Oh, that's beautifully put. Can I write that?
You can use that for the book.
I'll use that for the next one. Okay.
Yes.
No, that's absolutely right. And also, you don't want to rush them. Let's say you're getting them ready to go to the doctor or something like that. That's right. You want to make sure that the care doesn't manage you. You want to make sure you don't rush that person. Don't let that clock determine how your day's going to be. If you have to call a little later and say, hey, you know, we're running about 15 minutes late, that's much better than going into a catastrophic reaction of your loved one to where you're going to end up having a sleepless night because of what you did this morning getting them ready to go. So don't rush them.
Should you just expect that if you are caring for someone who has dementia, should you just expect a relative amount of agitation and anger that comes as a result of one not being completely on
you
track?
have to have a lot of mercy.
Yeah.
And you have to try to understand that you're thinking with a well mind. They're thinking with an unwell mind. You're not going to see everything the same.
Right.
And you don't want to force them to do anything. It's not worth it. You don't want to get them to try and see your point of view. That's very very important. Most people will spend all their time trying to convince their person who has dementia to sway them over to their point of view. What does it matter? You lose the war.
Now let me ask you, Starr, how much you should force or not when it comes to food. I had my grandmother cared for one of my elderly aunts for about 2 years, and she became extremely agitated when it was time to eat. She didn't want to eat, and consequently we now realize that was the process of the body going into a different phase of life. But should you force food?
Never, ever. If your loved one, and you know, I may have a bunch of emails from this, but it's okay. That's all right. It comes with it. But the thing is that our body says no more food will pass through these gates.
And there's a reason.
And there's a reason, because if your body is starting to shut down, you don't want any food.
Right.
Even in dementia, Bridget, the body is so wise to say no more food's going to come in here, even to the point to where they will vomit.
Right.
If you try to force it. Also, if you try to force it, many times the food will go into the lungs, and so with the liquid, and they'll drown. So you know, you don't want to do that either.
And that's why I think your book is so important, because it really helps you gain, if you can, the knowledge and the thinking of a caregiver. Because as a person who isn't a caregiver, we just think, oh, we're supposed to have 3 solid meals a day, and I'm caring for you, and you're going to eat, when it's not always wise.
Not at all. And a lot of people eat by the clock too. Eat when you're hungry. Sleep when you're tired.
Yeah. And there's a different method of thinking when you're caring for someone.
Paradigm shift.
Yes. Well, I'm so delighted that you are constantly talking with people about this on KKYX 680 AM. That's happening on Saturday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m. Caregiving 101. You can ask Starr all the questions, all the things you want to know. And she's even talking about marriage, her and her husband Bob, from 10 to 11 a.m. And their phone number, they're taking your questions and your calls, 210-521-8668, and that website, www.caregiversadvice.net. Thank you so much, Starr. We appreciate it.
See you then next week.
All right.